Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
It's The In Show, Australia's only show dedicated to innovation from Adelaide, Australia, and across the globe.
It's David Grice and Troy Sincock with another podcast talking to innovators and entrepreneurs, startups, people with great ideas that are really making them a reality. And you can subscribe to The In Show at the ozcastnetwork.com, hit the subscribe button, and choose whichever platform you desire to keep listening.
It's good you've got the choice, isn't it? Because, most platforms you go on, you just don't get a choice.
David, it's important to be everywhere. I'm glad that we almost are everywhere when it comes to podcasting.
Well, exactly. Let's hope that the people everywhere like what we're doing everywhere.
This is one of my favourite podcasts that we put out weekly because it's about, people that are really just generally excited about innovation, not necessarily the industry they're in, but they can see things all around them and opportunity and ways to make, people's lives better.
And we talk a lot about data and analytics. The way we can analyse things that we never used to be able to analyse before, and how we can collect data and the ways that we can, use that information for a better way of life or different products or services. Mm-hmm. Well, a few weeks ago, I was over in Austin, Texas at South by Southwest, and I got to catch up with Paul O'Brien from MediaTech Ventures. Now, he's talking about the value of data and analytics and how companies can utilise them as a measure of success, but also how the company's performing.
We're at South by Southwest, and the exuberance and the hype and the enthusiasm this year is probably evident in three ways: artificial intelligence, VR, AR, and blockchain. But if I wear my investor hat, if I put on my Silicon Valley VC hat, I still think of those as somewhat irrationally exuberant. They are definitely going to change the world, but no one is really sure how yet. So is it in that space, those three spaces, where we're seeing really innovative things? I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure I bet there. What I'm personally excited about, it's actually the data science. It's the analytics space. That there's a company in Austin called Backtracks that is developing analytics for podcasting. A wonderful way to measure listenership and subscription rates and where your audience is listening if you're a podcaster. There are analytics tools for your web and mobile applications. So if you're a musician, not only can you learn from your Spotify data, the consumption of your music, but you can learn from the audience as it experiences your mobile app or it experiences your website. And think about how you can use that to figure out where to start investing your brand, where to start investing your talent next. Rather than where you have listeners, where are you perhaps getting attention that you might want to go focus on or spend some time in? The excitement that I have there is based on, frankly, a similar narrative to the point about Silicon Valley versus the rest of the world. That, again, Silicon Valley built the infrastructure. They built Google Analytics. And now the rest of the world is realizing that we can do something with this internet. We can do something with the data behind the internet. And so in other industries, forget our industry, David, but in other industries like oil and gas and real estate, we're seeing these data platforms, these analytics emerge that are teaching us what the future should look like for a company or a startup or an investor. I'm excited that the same thing is happening in media. That's where I'd put my money today. Any data source, any analytics source that enables a small business, a musician, a startup, or even a company to thrive by knowing what they're doing, knowing their audience, knowing their consumer even better than they can today.
That was Paul O'Brien from MediaTech Ventures. David, it must have been so great, South by Southwest Festival. I mean, that probably feels like a distant memory now, but what an adrenaline rush that was for you for a week.
Unbelievable. And just the people you meet and just what you hear about. You think of South by Southwest as a music festival, which is what I first thought it was. But what I quickly realised when I first went there is the amount of technology that's being discussed and, what you can see. They've the massive trade show there where you can see NASA next to Sennheiser microphones, next to a music company, next to a smart cities, setup. And then you have investment and trade and foreign places that are just coming in like, you'll find out what's going on in Britain and you'll find out what's going on in Australia and all these different countries that are not only displaying their music, but they're displaying all of the things that they're good at.
It's something I've definitely got to get to. It sounds really exciting. So put me in your suitcase next year.
I will. And, in fact, I even saw the Batmobile there.
Well, you can put me in that too if you like.
Well, we could try. You are a tall guy.
On the next In-Show podcast, you're going to hear a whole new episode full to the brim with innovators and entrepreneurs and startups with all sorts of incredible ideas and stories to relate to us. You'll pick up all kinds of tips and find out things that could apply to your startup if you're creating one. That's the next In-Show podcast.
The In-Show. What's in? To hear more of The In-Show, subscribe to In-Show on Apple Podcasts or find us at ozcastnetwork.com. A Dave and the Beanstalk production.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.